Okay, so mine was on moving from ethnocentric to multicultural education. And so in my first slide, I'm just going to ask the participants if they know what ethnocentrism is. And then if they don't, I'll read this quote to them. And it says, ethnocentrism in education occurs when the curriculum, teaching methods, and educational strategies present the history and knowledge base of a nation from a monocultural Western European perspective that ignores the presence and or contributions of other groups in society. And then on the next slide, I have a bunch of crafts that I remember doing from when we were in elementary school. So there's like the Christopher Columbus and the Pilgrims and George Washington and leprechauns and Santa Claus. And so I think, yeah, just like growing up, it was seeing a lot of people that didn't look like me. And so that's kind of why I chose this topic. And then I'm going to ask the participants what they think are the negative effects of this. And then some of the ones that I came up with were that students of color don't really see themselves in the curriculum, and they're usually seen as the token or the other, and this can make them feel less important than their white counterparts. And then there's this article that Anita sent me, Taco Night, and it was this article that was about how the program was trying to be multicultural, and they did a taco night, and they like wrote in red paint and all these like just generalizing Mexican culture, I guess, and a lot of Mexican kids didn't even show up to it because they were like, what's the point? And a lot of, like, it was a negative thing because they weren't learning anything about Mexican culture, they were just eating tacos, so it's kind of pointless. And then there was two different views of culture, so I was gonna go over essentialist and non-essentialist views. So essentialist is kind of like generalizing an entire culture and thinking like, oh, because she's Asian, like she's gonna be passive. When there's like individual variability, which non-essentialists recognize the variability. And they recognize that it's constant and different. And then on the worksheet, I was going to have them fill out these blanks. And so filling out in the blank what you think of first. Like, so I have like Asians are blank, African Americans are blank, Latinos are blank, Middle Easterners are blank, and then have them share with their table what they wrote. So I guess just proving the point that even if we don't think we're racist or have essentialist views, it's basically ingrained in our minds. And then I was just going to talk a little about myself. Yeah, that's me when I was little.
You're cute.
Thanks.
You are cute.
Yeah, so I grew up in the U.S., and clearly I'm Asian American. But I think growing up in the U.S. schools, I was always looking for something that was from my culture, but these are like the only things I saw. Like, we would make paper fans during class. Like, once a year we would do like Chinese New Year activities, and I'm not Chinese, I'm Korean. And then like the hat thing that I don't even really know what it is. So yeah, and then I was going to talk about the consequences, which was I didn't really feel like I knew my identity growing up because I was never taught it. Like, I was always curious about learning about Asia and like important Asian people, I guess. But we were always talking about European like explorers and presidents and things. And then if we have time, I was going to show a video. It's like this comedy video. I posted it on the Reddit site. I don't know if you guys saw it. But it's of this white guy and then this Korean girl, and she's just standing there. They're going on a run. And then he's like, where are you from? And she's like, oh, I'm from San Diego. And he's like, no, where are you from? And just saying like all this stuff like, oh, I like teriyaki and like things like that. So it's kind of a funny video. And then at the end, I was going to give some tips on implementing multicultural education into the classroom that I found on a website. So just varying your teaching techniques because your students are coming from different backgrounds, and some can be like visual learners, some may not be comfortable with discussing. And then when you're doing content, including other perspectives. And yeah, the end.